everyone, and welcome to another video. This is going to be all of my pickups for the first half of January, including anime, manga, and everything else. There's quite a bit to get through this time, so I'm not going to spend too long on this intro, but I hope you guys all enjoy, and I'll just get straight into it. So the first item I'm going to be showing off is actually a figure, the only figure I have for these couple weeks, but it is the 1/7 scale of Hanayo from Love Live. This was done by Alter, the 6th girl within their Love Live range of these scales, and I love this outfit. I think she's absolutely adorable. I'm not a massive fan of Love Live. I have never watched the show. I've only ever played the mobile game. But Hanayo isn't exactly the most popular character, and this outfit isn't exactly the most popular out of the range that we have for the Love Live girls in this set. But for me personally, I adore it. I think the white sailor outfit is just too cute. The blue is beautiful, and her just overall expression and pose is just wonderful. I love it so much. Yeah, so as of now, we're 2/3 through the original Love Live cast. There's only Umi, Honoka, and Ellie left for these girls, and then they'll be done. But Hanayo herself is gorgeous. Alter has done a fantastic job as per usual, and yeah, she was definitely worth the wait and everything else. Next item is actually another merchandisey sort of thing, and that is the it's a collective song original song collection from the recent Yuri on Ice anime. So this particular CD is called Oskatra, and if you're familiar with the show, then this contains all of the music used in the skating performances. It's not the original soundtrack as you would typically see from like a normal anime. This is just the music that they use within the performances themselves. There's 24 tracks on this disc, so a lot of characters' performances represented, and in fact there's actually a track that wasn't used within the show on the CD, which is Welcome to the Madness. It's the second last track on the album, and for those who are aware or maybe don't know, it was going to be used for Yurio's exhibition skate, but that particular performance was cut for time in the show itself. So this disc covers everything from the titular Yuri on Ice song to both On My Love, Agape, and Eros, as well as things like Shall We Skate, Theme of King JJ, Intoxicated. Every song that is in a skating performance is on this track. I bought this mostly because, one, I love the music of the show. It's a very fun show. I did really enjoy it from last season. Not the best show of the year, as many people can probably agree to, but it was one that I really enjoyed it. Every week I look forward to watching it, and that's really all I want in my entertainment, basically. But I bought this mostly because I generally like to buy soundtracks from shows that I watch and want to revisit, from time to time. And this will probably go in my car so I can listen to it whilst I'm driving. I do a lot of driving throughout the day, so yeah, it'll just give me a chance to listen to all these songs that I really enjoy. Some that are funny, some that are, just very, very beautiful, some that are just really funky. If you haven't seen the show, and I do implore people to see the show. It is a lot better than I think some people may give it credit for. But the soundtrack is on YouTube. Give it a listen, because there's every sort of music genre type, aside from maybe like death metal and those sorts of things, but there's everything from R&B to classical to, just sort of Disney grand show tune sort of stuff. There's a lot of different genres of music, and it's fun. It's fun. So this CD, I'm very happy that I have it. I know quite a few other people who have also bought it as well, just because the music's catchy and it's a fun show. Next is the light novel that I got for this part of January, and that is the first Bakemonogatari novel released by Vertical. This contains the Senjogahara and Hachikuji stories, Hatagi Crab and Moyoi Snail. Niso-Isin has obviously been very, very popular, both within Japan and outside for a very long time, but only with these recent Vertical releases have we had really a proper release of any of his works. The Zaragoto novels were once released in English, but only got to volume 2 before being cancelled, and the few franchise novels he did, like for Holic and Death Note, have also been translated, but the Monogatari franchise is, of course, hugely, hugely well-known and popular. This book in particular was the first that he wrote for the series. It's not the first one we got in English, but Ko Ransom, who's the translator on this, does a great job. I don't really think there's probably no one harder to translate for than Niso-Isin. So the standard of translation in these novels has been fantastic. This book in particular, or the Bakemonogatari novels in particular, were originally released in Japan in 2 volumes. Now with the English release, it's been shifted to 3 volumes, so there will be 2 girls per book rather than 3 girls per book, or 3 story arcs per book. I can't say that there's anything wrong with that. Of course, you can always chalk it up to, Vertical wants more money and blah, 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 blah. But I have to wonder how expensive the licensing for this sort of series would be, considering its huge popularity both within Japan and outside of it. So I can't fault them for trying to earn a little bit more on probably what they would be getting otherwise. So yes, I haven't actually read this book yet, but I'm looking forward to it. Kizu Monogatari was great. Because this is that was an earlier work, I'm not necessarily expecting it to be at the same polish as Kizu, but we'll see. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't seen it yet. Next is the manga. First of all, is Volume 3 of Everyone's Getting Married. This is the currently ongoing Josei series by Izumi Miyazono. And this book in particular, I really, really liked. I find that with sort of longer josei, it can sort of fall into various tropes and can become very repetitive. Fortunately, not so much within this series as of yet. And this volume really steps up the drama and steps up a lot of what we as an audience learn about our 2 characters. It also, for a title that handles the topic of marriage, it's very realistic about it. It doesn't sort of present marriage as the be-all end-all for everybody, and also in life in general. One of the major points that this volume in particular brings up is that just because you're married doesn't necessarily mean you're happy or you'll be happy with the person you're married to. It's not so much the act of marriage, but more so who you're married to, which is not something that is covered very often in any sort of media. Unfortunately, we live in a modern age. We know that, or people should know that, marriage isn't a perfect solution to everybody's problems, especially with current divorce rates and all that sort of thing. So it's nice to see something that is sort of should be quite important, quite a important decision in your life, be handled with in a very realistic way, and but not like saying one side is better than the other. So just it's nice to see a josei focused on relationships that sort of handles that sort of thing, because generally it's oh, I don't want to be married, I just want to be career woman, and that's the way to be, or oh, I don't want to be career woman, I just want to be married and have my husband working, and that's the correct thing. And I mean, there's no right answer for anybody. You have to make those personal decisions for yourself, and everyone's getting married does this very well. I think Miyazono has really formulated what she wants to achieve in this series, so I'm looking forward to seeing where it's going from here. Next is another Viz release. It is volume 3 of Yona of the Dawn. With this volume, it means I'm actually going to start reading this series. I mentioned that I wasn't going to read until I had a couple of volumes, just because I didn't want to wait that long between volumes once I had started reading it. And I was perfectly happy buying this series without having read it beforehand. I'd seen some of the anime, so I knew that I enjoyed it, and I've heard nothing but good things about the manga. So yeah, it was pretty much a conscious decision of mine. I knew that I'd enjoy it. This sort of fantasy shoujo is not really something we get all that much of anymore, unfortunately. So it's nice to see a series that's really sort of reminiscent of the 90s and early 2000s. That seems sort of like a dying breed nowadays. But yes, Yona of the Dawn, like I said, I've heard nothing but good things, and I look forward to reading it. Next is another Viz release, and this is for volume 7 of Haikyuu, the obviously most recent volume of this from Viz. Haikyuu, everybody's talked about it, everybody knows what it is, or at least should at this point. This particular volume I immensely enjoyed, mostly because of the two characters it focuses on. Sugawara, who's this main character here, as well as Oikawa, who is the setter for Aoba Josai. And I personally think that those two characters are some of the more interesting characters. They bring a lot of insight to the series, and within this volume it really focuses on how Kageyama as a player and as a fellow setter has affected their own personal failures, achievements, and how they feel as being in the same position and being on the same team as him throughout their lives. It's very, very good. This volume covers the second set and part of the third set of their game against Aoba Josai. So if you're familiar with the anime, it's sort of the later half of the first season. I love this series. Haruichi Furudate is great. He's made such a wonderful cast of characters. They're all extremely likable, very upbeat. The art is not fantastic. I know some people complain about the art. I have really no problem with it. I think it suits the series very well. It's goofy, it's fun, it's energetic. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not that sort of series. But it's no level of bad, in my opinion. It's much better than some series that, because I mean, super detailed and super high quality art doesn't necessarily suit every story. And when this story needs it, the art does it suits it perfectly. I have no complaints with this series. So yes, Haikyuu Volume 7. I'm glad it's coming out monthly because it's one of those things that you just get through really quickly and you really don't ever want to stop. Next is the final Viz series. I got this part of the month, and that is Volume 4 of Goodnight Punpun. Um, yeah, again, everyone I think knows about this series. If you haven't read Asano's work before, you have to go into his series with a very specific mindset, and you have to be in a particular mood for it, at least in my opinion. He's certainly a master at the sort of story he tells. It's not for everyone, but Goodnight Pun Pun is definitely his magnum opus, at least at this point. Um, yeah, this particular volume covers volume 7 and 8 of the original Japanese single releases. And yeah, it's just more of Pun Pun. If you're reading this series, you know what that means. If you're not reading this series, then I do say you should give it a try, but like I said, it's not for everyone. So yes, not really much to add to this aside from, you know, it's Asano. You can't really explain it past that point. If you know what you're getting into and you enjoy it, then you will enjoy that. That's all I can say. And finally, for the manga is another, or it's a Kodansha release, and that is Volume 8 of Vinland Saga by Makoto Yukimura. Another omnibus. This collects volumes 15 and 16 of the Japanese releases. And this volume I enjoyed immensely. The story has shifted gear yet again. They have a new goal, and they have quite a few new sort of things to overcome within the story. This volume also introduces the first major recurring female character, which is a fantastic thing. Yukimura has great male and female characters, and I was wondering at what point he would introduce like a major female character within the story. We've had sort of one, but she didn't last very long. And there's, there are some minor female characters around, but yeah, it's really been a boys' show up until this point, which is fine. There's no problem with that. But it does, with the introduction of this new character, it has gotten me very, very interested in like how the group functions now and what they're going to be doing in the future. The cliffhanger of this volume is great as well. I'm really looking forward to volume 9. And yeah, Vinland Saga, I feel like everybody's reading it now. Everyone's owning it, at least. I was never fully convinced that it wasn't doing well enough to continue being printed. I do think there was a level of publicity with that statement that Kodansha put out about whether, like, if it didn't sell well enough, they wouldn't print anymore. I'm sure that was partially true, but I do think that they played to the idea that no publicity is bad publicity, because it worked immensely well. Everyone I know who reads manga owns this or is reading this, which, to say isn't, necessarily the numbers they need, but I do think they were playing specifically to fans to drum up interest. And this is a series that definitely deserves it. There's no problem in promoting your product. But yes, I am glad that Vinland Saga is doing so well, that we are looking at Volume 9 coming in the next couple months. Volume 10, that's, whenever, seeing as this is, I think, a monthly series, so it takes quite a while for the Japanese volumes to be released. So don't freak out if there's not a volume 10, in this next year, or at least by the end of this year. I don't know though. I'm not on top of it. I haven't really focused a lot of that side a lot of my time on that. But yeah, Vinland Saga is great. I do recommend you try it. The first 3.5 volumes are very different from how the story has changed, like how the story is now. There's a huge tonal shift at the end of volume 4, I think. and for the better, definitely, I think, in my opinion. And this series is definitely a saga. I mean, that's the perfect word for it. A long, long ongoing story that at this point has no end. Yeah, it's great, and I recommend it. Looking forward to more. Next is the anime. Quite a bit to get through here. Some of it from uh, there for various reasons, and I'll get into that when I start showing them off. First of all is Madman's Ghibli collection release of Only Yesterday on Blu-ray. So Australia had this film for years and years and years and years and years on DVD, subtitled only, and I actually owned that for several years myself. But with the recent license and acquisition and dub of this film by G Kids within the US, Madman decided to re-release it with the new dub and on Blu-ray. So, yeah, this is a fantastic film. It's probably one of Takahata's most underrated works. I mean, it did take this long to get to US shores. And it's very much a character piece, sort of self-study about, it's sort of a pretty typical coming-of-age reflective story, but on the female experience rather from like a male character's perspective, which I think Japan does more so than the Western world I've found. It's a beautifully animated film, definitely one to try if you're into Takahata's other films. It's probably one of my favorite of his films. Princess Kaguya is also up there, and of course Grave of the Fireflies. But this is infinitely easier to watch than Grave of the Fireflies, of course. Yeah, it's beautiful. I haven't watched the dub as of yet, but it has Daisy Ridley and Dev Patel in there as the two main characters, I believe. Which, I mean, that's Hollywood, or, famous actors aren't necessarily a show of quality, but G-Kids did put in the money to get, very well-known and highly, I don't know to say highly respected actors, but, recognizable names for this, so, yeah, I don't know. It's a good film, and I am looking forward to re-watching it, actually. I bought this one for Christmas for myself with a lovely gift card that a friend gave me. So I had wanted it. It came out, I think, October or November here in Australia, and I just hadn't gotten around to picking it up yet. And I'm glad I waited because then I used my gift card, so it all worked out. The other film I got this month was My Miracle. Sort of a similar idea as Only Yesterday, except for these are two young girls who live in the country, similarly to the woman in Only Yesterday. I think this is a older setting, like 60s set, small town, Japan. And it's about friendship and also that growing up sort of female experience. It also has direct parallels within the film of a young Heian era girl who is of higher class, who lived in that area. I don't know whether she lived there or was traveling there. Or, I can't remember. It's been a very long time since I watched this film initially. This particular release was kickstarted by Anime Limited, the UK company. It took them almost 3 years for them to get it out to us, mostly due to the production company within within Japan having broken up after the film was finished. The director went on to do other things, and typical expectations of what the anime business is like in Japan. So it took a very long time for certain elements of this film to be approved. But from what I remember, it's a very low-key, quiet, beautifully animated, again, film. And it, similarly to It's quite a good companion piece with Only Yesterday, because it really does show that regardless of the era or age, that growing up in friendship and, you know, small town experience and, you know, childhood memories are pretty universal, regardless. People are still people regardless of the time period. So yes, My Miracle is pretty wonderful. It was a little bit slow for me at points, but it's the sort of thing you can put on and just relax to. It's a good like evening one if you don't want to, you know, if you just want to sit on your couch and not think too much about things. It's a beautiful film. Next is actually a Japanese import, or, well, it's a Japanese release, shall I say. And this one I won on a Yahoo Japan auction. This particular release I had wanted for a very, very long time. In fact, I recently sold my US release of this and used the money that I got from that to pay for this one. In fact, I had a little bit extra left over. And that is the Durarara Blu-ray box set. So this is the third time I've bought this show. I had the original Aniplex DVDs of this, and then the Aniplex Blu-ray box set that came in the lunchbox and everything else. And so now this is the Japanese release. This is one that I've actually wanted for quite a long time. It does come with both the English dub and English subtitles. It was secondhand off of the Yahoo Japan, but I didn't have any. I mean, it's in near perfect condition, like most Japanese imports and secondhand products are. So I have absolutely no issues with that. The reason I bought this one is I don't know. There was multiple reasons, but I think the biggest one was just like, for one, it was something I wanted for a long time. The price was sort of at that perfect point. And I wasn't like, I didn't have any particular attachment to the American release of this film, or this show, should I say. So yeah, it seems a bit like, oh, you just bought it on a whim, and that may be true, but I am very happy that I got this for quite a good deal. It's a fun show. Even when it came out, I was never like as obsessively in love with it as quite a few other people were. This was a very, very popular show when it first came out. And I enjoyed it, but I wasn't. I've always enjoyed Baccano more than this series. But that's not really saying much, as seeing as Baccano is, in my opinion at least, it's an immensely better written story. And I think even like within the novels that's true, at least at this point. I've only read 3 of both, but I think Baccano, the setting is more compelling. The modern Japanese Ikebukuro setting is very good, especially seeing as I have been to Ikebukuro. I know where a lot of these places are. It's not nearly as compelling as the 1930s USA, Prohibition era setting that is Baccano. But yes, so the Blu-ray box set was something that I bought on its own, and then at the same time, this was one of the main reasons I was on Yahoo Japan or auctions, and that is for this. So this is an empty box, as you can see, but this is the Blu-ray box for Durarara X2 Part 2, and this one is specifically for 10, which is the 3rd part of the 2nd season of Durarara. As you can see, it has Mikado, then Izaya, and then Alba, who is the 2nd season character, on this box. It did also come with the Japanese volume 6 of 10, which looks like so. But I bought this box in particular because when I buy the US release of the second season, I wanted one spot for all of the releases. So all 3 parts of the second season, which were broken into 2. So all 6 individual volumes can fit in this box, no problem. I've seen other people do the same thing with different designed boxes. There was a separate one for Show and I can't remember. There's 3 of these Durara X2 boxes. This, like I said, is for the 3rd part, so the final box. And I bought this box in particular just I mean, the other ones were very nice. There was ones with Celti and Shizuo, and I think the Izaya's twin sisters, and then the other one had Mikado and Masami, Kita, and Henri, and then one of another like second season character who sort of plays a major role, not as much as some others. But this box I got in particular because within the story itself, Mikado, this character, Izaya, and Alba are all sort of the same character. They have the same personality, but made different choices to be where they are in their life right now. They're present, especially Izaya and Mikado, in the first book, they are really presented as like, they have the same belief systems and the same values, and so it is very easy that under the right circumstances, one could become the other. Or at least Mikado could become Izaya, later on in life. So this whole box is kind of like a metaphor, and I really enjoyed that aspect of it, which is why I got this box in particular. And yes, Durara, like I said, not my favorite out of the 2 between that and Baccano, but it's still a very solid series, and I look forward to, watching it again. Whether or not I'll buy the Aniplex releases of season 2 anytime soon, that's to be seen. But we'll see. Who knows? Next is the final Blu-ray set, and it is My Little Monster, released by NIS America. Unfortunately, NIS doesn't seem to be within the anime licensing business anymore. And this was a show that when it first came out, it was definitely one of the best shows of that season. It was a very strong season, but it was very enjoyable, and I didn't want to miss out on this show. A lot of their titles have been going out of print, and once they're gone, basically. This particular release with the box set and the DVDs and Blu-rays was on sale in the most recent Right Stuff sales. I wasn't necessarily going to place another order with Right Stuff, but I made the decision to regret it if I didn't have the opportunity to get it now, and I'm glad that I have it now. It's beautiful. Not much to add to it than that, but I really look forward to watching it again, and I hope that someday NIS returns to us, because they license some really, really niche and wonderful shows that unfortunately other companies, especially at the time, had no interest in. Next is a DVD, or the next 2 shows are both DVD only. The first one being Attack on Titan OVA 4, A Sudden Visitor. This came with the special edition of volume 20 of the manga. The manga itself I have sold on just because I'm not collecting the Attack on Titan manga. I am reading it via Crunchyroll, so I'm up to date, but I have no real want for the physical volumes. I think I've gone over that sort of thing far too many times already. But this is the last OVA, I believe, for the first season at least. And it's exactly what you expect, just like the other Kodansha OVAs released. Subtitle only, DVD only, and it's just a OVA that came with the manga in Japan, so it's coming with the manga in in the Western world. And finally is a set of DVDs that I'm extremely excited about. I've got an amazing deal with them. And I got these actually from a Facebook seller who was trying to get rid of some of her collection. I think she's moving, or she just needed I don't know. But I pounced on them because it's something that I have wanted pretty much ever since I saw the show initially, and have just never been able to afford them because of them being out of print for a very, very long time. And unfortunately, Viz has no real want to re-release this show in particular, so yes, I had to get them when I saw. And that is Hunter x Hunter 1999, the original Hunter x Hunter anime, 62 episodes, I believe, and it adapts up to about halfway through the York New arc, the spiders stuff. This is not the most accurate adaptation to the source material. 2011 is by all accounts a better show, but this doesn't mean that this show is bad in any sense of the word. The animation can be a bit hit or miss sometimes, but it was not, anything awful. This show has great atmosphere, great music, and some really, really interesting decisions it made with its characters. Kurapika is a much larger focus in this series. Gon was really kind of pushed to the side more so than his compatriots. But yeah, this show has a lot of very good qualities as well as its bad qualities, and I really, really enjoyed it when I saw it the first time. I did, like I said in my last video, start with the original 2011 anime, but I did watch this whilst I was watching that one, and they're both great. I really have a lot of love for both of these adaptations, and I'm just glad that I was able to find a set of the complete series for a reasonable price and in such good condition. So that's everything for this month, or this first half of the month, shall I say. There's quite a bit here, a lot more than I really expected, but I say that every month, or I say that every video, really. I have been cutting down on my actual purchases. A lot of this came in later from, Christmas time. So who knows what next video will entail. It may be more, it may be less. I don't know. Let's hope it's not any larger, because these videos can't stand to get any longer than they already are. But thank you so much for watching. I hope this has been enjoyable for you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye till then.